Whenever I think of elementary school, one of the first things I think about, apart from scholastic book fairs or kickball or even square pizza, is flash games, and most importantly, cool math games. I remember when the school decided to bring in Chromebooks, and so in our child minds we thought of many things. My first thought was Minecraft, but alas, the Chromebook had restrictions. Where will we play our games? Many of us thought, and there it was, cool math games. A title so good that it fooled the teachers. I remember mostly being on that website after school, after I was done with all the homework. After all the hard work in one day, that's where I would be. And as the days come closer for the end of flash games, it pains me to see a big part of my childhood go away. And sure, although there may be other alternatives, nothing will ever bring back the magic of playing flash games as intended. And so, today we take down a trip down memory lane and see these classics. Let's start off with a personal favorite of mine, Run, which came with a variety of game modes. But the main point of this game was just to run and avoid obstacles much like real life. This game really did help pass time while I waited for my parents to pick me up, and I would always get farther and farther each time. The game also spawned in two sequels, Run 2 and Run 3. Run 2 was where it really got tough, and if you wanted to flex in class, then you had to play on skater mode. And then Run 3 came along, which brought in its own storyline. And while people are waiting for Half-Life 3, I'm over here waiting for Run 4. Bloxorz, or the game for big brain people, is a puzzle game, which I suck at. Essentially, you roll a block into a hole. It sounds easy, but really it gets more complicated than that. And to be honest, I think most of us didn't get past the 4th stage. But still, it's quite the classic, and will forever be known as that one flash game that requires a high IQ. Duck Life is basically discount Pokemon. Essentially, you have to train this duck, putting it through tough training. And when you think it is ready, you will put it in competitions. And you will do this until it would become the greatest duck of all time. And like most games, this was a great way to pass the time at school, especially after school. This game also brought in a bunch of sequels and spin-offs. Now, this is a game that is guaranteed to make you hungry. If you were like me and many others, then you probably hated the school lunch. And there you sat, seeing the other children eat, while you had to eat whatever radioactive toxic waste the school district called lunch. So, as if I wasn't hungry enough, Papa's Pizzeria made me even more hungrier. But that's besides the point. Already, at such a young age, the game had taught me how to run a business, and how to make pure gourmet food. Essentially, in the game, you played as a delivery boy, and upon arriving at the pizzeria, the chef had already left to do errands, and so you have to run it while he is gone. And this game spawned a whole ton of spin-off titles. And for some reason, my favorite ones were Papa's Hot Doggeria and Papa's Sushiria. Despite how fun these games were, they always came with a cost: hunger. Next up, Fireboy and Watergirl, a game not to be confused with Shark Boy and Lava Girl. In the game, you were in the temple, where you will have to collect crystals and reach the end. But what made this game special was the ability of cooperative play. But if you're like me and had no one to play with, then you couldn't really play the game as intended. Yet, I still tried to control both of the characters at the same time. However, the days that I was able to get a friend to play with me sure were amazing ones. Now, this game. This game was probably the one which influenced my childhood the most. It was everything my child mind wanted. A stick figure going on heists with a bunch of gadgets? Yeah, it doesn't sound great, but believe me, it sure as hell was epic. In the game, you played as Henry Stickmin, a clever thief and always seems to get himself in trouble. The first game in the series was Breaking the Bank, where you attempt to rob a bank. The second was Escaping the Prison, which is where, as the title implies, you escape a prison. Then Stealing the Diamond came, where you break into a museum and steal a diamond, and then infiltrating the airship, and finally fleeing the complex. But really, what resonated with me about these games was the art style. It was very simple, and at the time, I drew stick figures in my comics, and seeing the cartoonist style similar to mine at the time was mind-blowing. And the stories within the Henry Stickmin games influenced me to create tons and tons of stories within my comic books. And even now, I'm still going on with this art style for comics, and I'm even working on one now as I speak. Later on in 2020, the creator released a new entry to the Henry Stickmin series, Completing the Mission, which perfectly encapsulated the feeling of the original Henry Stickmin Flash games, while feeling fresh and new. Nowadays, Flash games are pretty outdated, but they did shape the childhood of many people, including me. Flash games are basically the reason I enjoy playing video games nowadays, and I am glad that they were a part of my childhood. In a way, Cool Math Games was basically Steam, but for kids at school, to be honest. So if you're staring at your Steam library, not knowing what to play, maybe take a trip down memory lane and play some Flash games while they're still here. My name is Mauricio Jara, and don't forget to subscribe while you're here. Bye!